Hey, Giants fans, welcome back to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl on social media. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I've got a very exciting episode for you today. I am going to be joined by the voice of the Commanders and the host of the Bram Weinstein Show, Bram Weinstein. He's going to tell us everything that we need to know and be prepared for when the New York Giants face the Commanders on week 1 of the NFL season. So with that being said, let's go ahead and welcome Bram to the show and let's talk all things Commanders. Welcome, Bram, to the show. Very excited to have you, knowing that the Giants take on the Commanders for the season opener. And the best news of all for Commanders fans, Terry McLaurin is signed to the team. Tell us all about it. What are your thoughts? Did you know it was coming?
I assumed the whole time that something would get done. This front office doesn't really talk publicly very much about really anything. They're very tight-lipped on everything that they're doing. But back in the spring, they came out and immediately said, as he was entering a contract year, that they wanted to sign him to an extension, which is rare for them to be on the record like that. McLaurin, I know he made a trade request. I think he was pulling a lever to try to get something done. He always wanted to be here. He knows how important he is here. If he continues on the track that he's going, he's going to end up in the Ring of Fame here. And so I think, because both sides wanted this result, I assumed it would happen. It took a little longer than I think any of us thought it ever would, but we're all glad it's done. He is one of the best representatives of this organization that we have, let alone best players. And just think about this for a minute. He's drafted by Jay Gruden and Bruce Allen. He's extended by Ron Rivera. There's a new ownership and a new GM and a new coach, and they extend him too. I mean, it's the ultimate level of respect for any player to have shown his value to 2 different owners, 3 different GMs, 3 different coaches. It's really a testament to who he is.
And to follow up on that, Brian Daboll was asked about it in his press conference this week, saying, as you start to turn the page and get ready for the Commanders game, what do you think about the Terry McLaurin situation? Did you ever have any experience with him? And Daboll said that his pre-draft interview with him was his favorite of all time, that he's a respectful, smart young man. He had nothing but good things to say about him, which is incredible that he's got that reputation around the league too.
Yeah, he's been an incredible representative of the organization. I mean, obviously, we've been through a lot, through the course specifically of his career. He's one of the few that was a Redskin Washington football team member, now commander, ownership changes. He's really been through everything, and he's really stood up for the organization, which is why I think the whole time, none of us ever thought he was going anywhere, and none of us could ever really envision him being on any other team at this point in his career, for sure. He already broke a record last year for single season touchdown receptions. He's going to be hard pressed to catch Art Monk for the most receiving yards or catches in franchise history, but he could end up top 2 or 3. And there's multiple Hall of Fame receivers that have played in this organization. He's really just been an outstanding player, representative, and I'm glad this is over. The only nitpicky thing I would say is, I think we all wanted this to happen sooner because he hasn't practiced. So that's the only part of this that we don't love. Is he really going to be on a pitch count? Is he going to be able, can they use him for the volume that they have regularly when they play the Giants in less than a couple of weeks? We'll find out.
Yeah, it's coming up really soon. So with that being said, tell me your thoughts on what the Commanders did this offseason, and do you think they did enough to take them to the next level this year?
So I like the history part of no team has won the division back-to-back years in 20 plus years. So I'd like to think that if the Eagles are going to continue on that trend, that we're sitting in pole position to overtake them. Yep. I think the Commanders are, while matching 12-5 with the schedule that they have, they got a ton of night games, ton of standalone games. We're Thursday night, week 2, Christmas Day, Madrid, 3 Sunday night games, 2 Monday night games. There's just a lot. And as you know, we're playing basically the same schedule. NFC North, AFC West. I mean, there's no breaks, right? There's really no breaks this year. So I think it's a very different season that they have to navigate. They got to navigate a lot of expectations. They're going to be in the news cycle because of Jaden Daniels, win or lose every single week. We know that. It's a very different atmosphere in and around them. But that said, I do think they have a better team. They may not have a better record, but I do think they have a better team. The Laramie Tunsil trade has a trickle-down effect on their offensive line. I think it's going to make it exponentially better when they're all healthier. If we get better protection for Jaden Daniels, he runs less, he passes more. I know everyone sees the athletic ability. He's really a pass-first quarterback, and I think that's where he could be. That's where his next level could go if he becomes a 4,500-yard passer, which I think is very possible for him. They needed explosive playmakers. They got Deebo Samuel. He's looked great in camp. They have a young rookie. You're going to hear his name a lot next Sunday. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who goes by Bill. It's a 7th-round pick. Explosive player who's emerged. It led them to trading Brian Robinson. They felt so comfortable with the running back room that they have. And defensively, they're just much more formidable up front. We had a really, really bad year in rush defense. They were very, very attuned to trying to improve that. They bring in Javon Kinlaw. They bring in Dietrich Wise. They bring in Von Miller. Specifically, they got bulkier up front. You're going to see a more formidable front. I think they're going to be a more aggressive front. I think their corner group is probably the biggest from weakness to strength that has occurred in 1 year. So they're a better team. Are they good enough to go to next level and a step above from what they did? I guess we'll just have to see. But they are better, and I trust it. Now, their camp wasn't great. They didn't perform well in the 3 preseason games. Their starters didn't play very much, honestly. But the backups had a couple of rough outings, and that is kind of left us wavering a little bit about what are we going to see at the early part of the season. Right. But I do buy this roster as being one that's extremely competitive this year.
So with all that being said, do you have any specific concerns at any positions, like year 2 with the offensive line? Or I know for Giants fans, we're all worried about cornerback 2 because of Cordell Flott versus Tay Banks. Is there anything like that you're looking at this team as a whole after preseason and everything that you're like, ooh, this could be a weakness for us if it doesn't get sorted out?
Yeah, I think we do not have, they signed Von Miller, but obviously at an extended age and price point, it kind of tells you like, we're not expecting him to have 15 sacks. Right. The same issue that we had a year ago is where's the pass rush going to come from? But they are deeper across their front. They're bigger across their front, and they're going to be far more aggressive than they were a year ago because mainly they're so confident in their corners. So I think that they feel like they can take chances with a healthy Marshawn Lattimore. Trey Amos is their 2nd-round pick. He's looked the part. He's going to be a day 1 starter. Mike Sanders still had an outstanding rookie season. He played on the outside. They're moving him back to what they think is a natural spot for him on the inside. They're very strong on the back end. Their linebackers are very strong. They're bigger up front. What they don't have, and you have 3 of them, in Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau, we don't have one of those guys. And I think if we had one of those guys, I probably would feel differently about their pass rush ability and their defense. So that, I don't know if it's a weakness, but they're going to have to be creative to try to figure out how they're going to get sacks, game-changing plays off the edge. I think that's where we're looking. And then because of the McLaurin situation, because Noah Brown has barely practiced, receiver has been a really big deal in camp. Like, McLaurin didn't practice all summer. Brown's been injured. All these other players, including a lot of veterans, were given opportunities on the outside, and nobody really emerged. So I think like the depth at receiver, while I don't think is going to be a big deal when we get into the regular season, might be early based on can Brown go against the Giants and the Packers, which we don't know yet. And is McLaurin going to be used with the volume that he has because he's going to be ramping back up because he didn't participate in training camp? So like those are kind of open questions early. I think long-term we're going to be fine if those guys are going to be healthy at those positions, but it is an open question early in the season for sure.
With all that being said, the first thing that comes to mind as a Giants fan is, of course, Zach Ertz, because one of our problems for some reason for probably a decade at this point with the Giants is that they can't figure out how to cover a tight end. So with some concerns that you think that maybe there could be in the beginning of the season with the wide receiver position, do you think that from the get-go, Zach Ertz is going to be getting a big target of those snaps?
Yes, I think he's grown chemistry with Jaden Daniels. He's gotten better. He looks faster and quicker. Now, I don't want to confuse him, with Brock Bowers, if he's not extending plays, like there's not a tremendous amount of speed. There's not a lot of running after the catch. In the red zone, he's dominant, almost uncoverable, and they have a tremendous chemistry. early in camp, because of what I was talking about earlier with the receivers, when they had joint practices, when they had inter-squad scrimmages, the reads seemed to always go back to him. So, like, if you were watching them in training camp, you'd think he's going to have 300 catches this year, the way the ball would seemingly find him. He's become a very reliable target for them. And I've kind of described this here that I feel like underrated. He's the player that if he were to get dinged up or hurt, they really don't have a replacement for him. And I actually think that that would be very altering to their offense. He needs to stay healthy and be one of the primary targets for Jaden Daniels, because he's become over and over and over in clutch moments, third downs, red zone, whatever it may be, the primary target. And his superpower is he's incredible at separation at the end of a route and finding a spot and being open. He's not getting many more yards after that catch, but that catch moves the sticks or scores a touchdown, and he's been a massive difference maker for them.
Yeah, I expect to see a lot of that coming out week 1. So if you're the Giants and you're game planning against the Commanders week 1, outside of knowing that you've got a good pass rush and you're probably going to be blitzing, a decent amount, but you have to be concerned about Jaden with the blitz. What's your game plan trying to beat the Commanders?
So if I'm the Giants, and I'm just saying this honestly, like, we haven't seen much of what the Commanders' offense is going to look like. They put nothing on tape. Their starters, and it was only about 5 of them, played one series in the preseason. And in that series, they ran the ball 4 times and scored a touchdown. They didn't even throw one single pass.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this honestly, I really don't know what to expect from the Commanders' offense this year, how different it's going to be. I think Deebo Samuel's presence makes this a very different offense to try to defend. He's going to be a movable part for them, probably part of their running game in the jet sweep type varieties, less in the backfield. How much is that used? They have speed with a rookie by the name of Jalen Lane, who was working a lot in camp on the outside. So I wish the Giants luck with this. Like, I don't know really what to expect, but at the same time, like, honestly, like, I'm very bullish about where you guys are going this year. I saw how Jackson Dart played in the preseason. Like, I look on paper at the additions that they made on defense, and that's as formidable a front, I think, maybe in the NFL. I think they're way better on the back end if Javon Holland is going to be like he was a couple of years ago in Miami. I'm a buyer of Paulson and Debo. Like, I think the Giants made significant strides this year. I assume at some point Dart's going to be playing. And if Neighbors is healthy, you may have the best receiver in the NFC East. So this is like, I see the trend line. Like, I actually, I don't know what's going to happen week 1 because the Commanders did not have the most productive camp, so like, we'll have to just see. But I buy that you're not going to want to play that team in the middle of the season or later, that they're going to consistently get better, especially if their defense like reads. Like, you look on paper at what that is. If they play to what's on paper, they could have one of the more formidable defenses in the NFL this year.
Yeah, it's hard for Giants fans, I think, to get excited, partially because of the schedule and partially because on paper the team looks great. But I think for the last couple of years, we also thought on paper the team looked a little bit better, and that obviously failed us. But as someone who was so devastated that we couldn't get Jaden Daniels, I'm feeling some optimism about the future of the franchise, seeing at how good Jackson Dart has been. But I think week 1 is going to be a battle. I think it could be low scoring between both teams because even though I think the Giants had a decent preseason, it's like we've seen them have good preseasons and then they win, 6 games. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm really looking forward to week 1.
Yeah, I am too. And I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think we really don't know much about each other. I mean, I think that's what's interesting here. Like, the Commanders' offense has been a secret all summer. Their defense, I can tell you, is going to be far more aggressive than it was in the past. They feel like they're very comfortable with the secondary differently than a year ago, that they're going to bring more people and try to force the play with, like, I think there's a humongous difference, like, strategically, if it's Russ or Dart. I think there's more balls that are thrown downfield if Dart is the quarterback, and there's more dump offs if it's Russ. And so I really, and I assume Russ is starting, and you guys would know, but like, this is, I think it's hard to know what you're getting really out of either one of them. And again, like, if you tell me by the end of the year that the Giants are close to around 500 or a touch better than that and are vying for a wild card spot, I would not be surprised by that. Like they just, it feels like their roster is, especially on defense, significantly better. My bigger question would be, do they have enough on offense? Do they have a real run game? Do they have a weapon outside of Neighbors that scares anybody? And I think like that's an open question, I think, for the Giants, but we'll find out. And I think week one's going to be, I agree with you. This feels like a low scoring opener to me. That's what it feels like. And I've been saying for a couple weeks on my show, like, we get out of there winning 17-16, I'm happy, honestly.
Right. I think that's probably what it will come down to. So if everyone wants to hear more Commanders news, insights, and updates, you can follow the Bram Weinstein Show on all podcast platforms. And I will be down in DC for the season opener. So I'm very excited, and I'll get to hear the play-by-play right from Bram himself. So thank you so much for joining the show.
All right, cool. Come by, say hi. If you're going to be down at Northwest Stadium, look forward to seeing you.
I absolutely will. Thanks again.